Not being self-indulgent means not inflicting yourself on others, being honest, not appropriating, equanimity with regards to sex, and freedom from the urge to acquire. This is the chief attention at all levels of insight, regardless of status, place, time, and circumstance. I mentioned in the previous video about not being self-indulgent. It means not being dominated by our urge for comfort. And we're going to look into each of these aspects of this particular limb in this video. Now, the first aspect of not being self-indulgent is about not inflicting yourself on others. And the word here is ahimsa, which is usually understood as non-violence. And indeed, Sutra 35, which goes into this in more detail, says, being grounded in non-violence goes together with the abandonment of hostile tendencies. Now remember, what we're about here is questioning the sense of separate selfhood. Now, ahimsa is almost being hijacked by a political understanding of the term. It's most associated with Mahatma Gandhi, the figurehead of Indian independence. And if we can get non-violence in politics, well, that's a wonderful thing. But spiritually, could we say that Gandhi did not inflict himself on others? Because this is really what non-violence is about. If you look at Gandhi's actions, and if you read his autobiography on his experiments with truth, as he called it, then he made no bones about it. He was so convinced of his own principles that he had no qualms about inflicting them on others. If people didn't want to go along with him, then he would fast to the death. Sometimes you do need to impose yourself on others. If you're a parent or somebody with some authority in society, then you have to say, this is how we're going to do things. But that's within the context of a particular role. And what you're doing then is you're acting in accordance with that role. But otherwise, you don't want anything from anybody. We are not trying to get people to support our point of view. What need are we experiencing which we think will be satisfied by directing our attention out there to other people? So within the area of politics, perhaps that's justifiable. Within the area of certain social interactions, it's justifiable. If you're a father or a parent, an elder brother, an elder sibling, then perhaps society expects you to take a certain lead. But spiritually, we divest ourselves of all these identities. Spiritually, we divest ourselves of all these roles. We have to let it all go. We are centered in ourselves. We are centered in our essential awareness. There is nothing that we want to obtain from anybody else. So we do not impose ourselves upon them. We accept them completely for what they are. So surely this is non-violence. Sutra 35 said, being grounded in non-violence goes together with the abandonment of hostile tendencies. So this is the aversion and attachment dynamic again. If we feel any hostility, if we feel any sense of hurt, any kind of resentment, we have to abandon it. We have to abandon any dependence on any dynamic with anybody else. This is ahimsa. And this goes hand in hand with the next factor of not being self-indulgent. I've described it here as being honest. The word here is satya, which means truth. And Sutra 36 tells us that being grounded in truth is the basis for successful outcomes. And I said it's about being honest. And this isn't about being honest with other people, it's being honest with yourself. It's about not kidding yourself about the sort of person you are. It's about not kidding yourself in relation to other people. The first factor of this limb of non-self-indulgence is ahimsa, not imposing yourself on others. So we withdraw from any emotional and psychological, intellectual, spiritual dependence on others. It's a very difficult thing to do. And we have to be honest. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to have integrity. Be honest about our actual situation. Be honest about where we're at and work with that. And the next factor of this first limb of yoga is normally understood as not stealing. But again, there's this sense of needing something out there that we're having to address. This is our comfort zone again. We want something out there which we feel will make us happy in here, make us more complete in here. So I've translated this as not appropriating. And Sutra 37 tells us having no need to appropriate is the manifestation of true wealth. So wealth isn't about what you have, it's about what you don't need. The more you don't need, the more wealthy you are.